I think many people who speak English don't realize that our own language, as well as most Western languages, have their origins in what is sometimes called the Proto-Indo-European language, which is really the same language from which Sanskrit and the Hindu traditions are derived.
Yes, English, Russian, Icelandic, French, Greek are all dialects of a mother tongue that's spoken very widely in India and many parts of the world.
We think of ourselves as being Western, and we think of India and its culture as being Eastern, but actually they have not only a common linguistic origin, but a common cultural basis as well.
Yes, common thought. If we divide East and West, I would put the boundary between India and China, perhaps. But India is Western, by my way of thinking.
Well, and Buddhism, which was born in India and then moved to China, bridges that gap as well.
So Buddhism is the West that went to the East.
There we have an example of how we're much more intimately related to Eastern culture than we think, and many, many, many words in the English language have Sanskrit origins, or origins that are traceable to the Sanskrit tradition and the earlier Proto-Indo-European language.
Oh yes, most of the words in English, say, go back either through the Teutonic Northern European Icelandic route to the Sanskrit or the Vedic, and then through the Mediterranean route, the Romance route.
Now we think of Sanskrit as a language of mysticism, the language of the Bhagavad Gita, of the Yoga Sutras, of the Vedas, the language in which there's the great equation, Atman equals Brahman. Let's start there. Maybe we can you could elaborate on that.
Well, Sanskrit's an artificial language spoken in the wisdom traditions and in the great hymns. The language spoken in the street in ancient times would be called Vedic. Vedic is a vernacular, and Sanskrit is a synthetic language. Just like the Latin that Julius Caesar spoke would be vernacular, but the Latin that we have in medicine and law and botany and the church is not the street language.
So Sanskrit was a formal language used by the priests and by the philosophers of ancient times.
Yes. And it is very beautiful, but it wouldn't give you much of an idea of what's actually spoken in the bazaar.
But there's a lot of abstractions that we find in Sanskrit that have permeated our modern idiom. Concepts like karma, concepts like Brahma.
Yes, that's why we think of Sanskrit as a scientific language.
Mm-hmm.
The terms in Sanskrit are so precise that they're used in the street today in California, for instance, because the English equivalents don't exist.
There are many, many words in Sanskrit that describe states of consciousness.
States of consciousness, thinking, mentality. There are other languages that have feelings in them, but Sanskrit has precision for thought and consciousness.
And metaphysics.
And metaphysics, yes.
And cosmology. Itself.